Now she's teasing a big announcement that she claims will result in some of her opponents being arrested and charged. South suburban politician Tiffany Henyard appears to have lost control of both governments.
Have you heard the latest? The mayor of Dolton, Tiffany Henyard, has apparently pulled a vanishing act, and the news is blowing up. Not only is Henyard missing in action, but sources are saying she may have fled to avoid getting hauled off in handcuffs. Picture this. After years of alleged overspending, mishandling public funds, and living a luxury lifestyle fit for the rich and famous, Henyard is suddenly nowhere to be found. This is the same mayor who was on every poster and billboard in town, always front and center. But now it's like she vanished into thin air just when the town and her own board members were pushing for answers. And the story only gets wilder from there.
Because all this point the finger to Tiffany or allow me, I'm over it. Now it's time for me.
So what happened? According to reports, Henyard knew her time was running out with court cases, a federal investigation, and an eviction notice all closing in on her at once. Insiders say that days before her disappearance, she was tipped off by friends and law enforcement about a possible arrest warrant, and she wasted no time packing up and hitting the road. This wasn't some casual trip, though. It's rumored she planned her escape like an expert. And with millions in public funds at stake, she had every reason to be careful. Residents of Dolton, who already felt burned by her outrageous spending and luxurious lifestyle, are now dealing with the fact that she might have just ghosted them entirely. But let's rewind a bit. Tiffany Henyard's story didn't start with a bang. It started with promises. Elected as mayor in 2021, Henyard positioned herself as the leader Dolton needed to turn things around. She presented herself as a powerful voice for change, someone who'd lift up Dolton's working class and revitalize the community. But things took a very different turn once she was in office. Soon after she settled in, people began noticing her taste for high living and the way she treated public funds as her personal piggy bank. We're talking first-class flights, nights at some of the priciest hotels in New York City and Atlanta, and trips that cost more than many people in Dolton make in a whole year.
A Dolton home that she leased to Mayor Tiffany Henyard has filed eviction papers. She says Henyard has not paid her rent, and now she wants her.
The expenses were eye-popping. In New York City, Henyard reportedly stayed at the luxurious Marriott Marquis in Times Square, and the bill totaled over $13,000. During another trip to Atlanta, she was seen with her entourage at the Four Seasons, racking up close to $9,000 for the stay. And get this, she was even reported to have spent over $67,000 on just travel and accommodations across several luxury destinations, all alleged the taxpayer's dime. For many Dolton residents, who make an average of about $24,000 a year, these luxury trips weren't just excessive, they felt like a slap in the face. They'd hoped for a leader to uplift their community, not someone using their taxes to finance a personal lifestyle more suited to a celebrity than a small-town mayor.
We talked to Tiffany Henyard's landlord, and she says she came to this Thornton Township meeting Tuesday night, hoping to get paid what she says she's owed.
Henyard's spending wasn't limited to travel either. She reportedly threw a massive party featuring well-known entertainers that cost the village a whopping $85,000. And if that wasn't enough, she also made a $43,000 purchase on Amazon that left everyone scratching their heads. What could a mayor possibly need that would require spending $33,000 online? These purchases, along with countless other expenses, had people in Dolton starting to question if Henyard was more interested in playing the part of a celebrity than actually serving the community. The extravagance painted a picture of someone living in a different world from the people who elected her.
So now I have to pay a special process server in order to get them served, which is more fees for me.
While Henyard's spending choices were shocking, her actions seemed almost as if they were intended to send a message. In town meetings, she would openly flaunt her power, arriving with her security detail and decked out in luxury attire, projecting an image of untouchable authority. To some residents, it felt like she was showcasing that her decisions, no matter how excessive, were beyond reproach. This attitude struck a nerve in Dolton, with many citizens feeling increasingly alienated by a leader who appeared more focused on living a high life than bridging the gap between herself and the people she was meant to represent.
It's a power grab. That's it. Power and money grab.
Henyard didn't just spend the public's money on parties and travel. Residents and even members of her own board saw her spending on security as the height of excess. Unlike typical mayors, Henyard had her very own security detail that many said resembled something out of a Hollywood movie. She used a full-time team of 6 police officers, all of whom were paid through taxpayer funds, to follow her everywhere. These officers reportedly worked overtime to cover her movements and were on duty during both public and private events, racking up an incredible amount in overtime. 1. Valentine's Day, she reportedly even had them block reporters from a public event, enforcing her very own no-press policy. Sources say the total spent on this security was over $1 million, and residents couldn't help but wonder if Dolton's mayor was hiding from something or someone.
Tiffany Henyard's landlord showed up here to see her tenant in person after she says Henyard has been dodging both her and rent payments for months.
It didn't stop with security, though. Henyard's personality began to take center stage in village affairs, and the line between mayor and local celebrities started to blur. At one meeting, she strutted and dressed as a character from a popular gangster movie, complete with a DJ blasting music to announce her arrival. Critics felt this look was intended to intimidate, with Henyard using her image and style as a power play to keep people in check. She was known to dismiss and openly mock trustees, even calling them out in public, accusing them of not doing any work and claiming that she, as the hour, was the only one truly fighting for the people. But the people didn't seem to be convinced. In fact, her behavior only made her more enemies in Dolton's political scene, and so distrust among residents who began to feel that their mayor was more about drama and theatrics than getting real work done.
I will be seeking arrests for individuals involved. I will be pressing charges.
But where it really got messy was when Henyard started using her influence to silence anyone who spoke against her. She allegedly called herself the leader, who was above the trustees, and had no problem making life difficult for anyone who disagreed with her. According to insiders, she even used police to harass her critics, allegedly ordering officers to write up tickets, follow, and even shut down businesses that refused to comply with her demands. Trustees and residents alike said they felt threatened by her, describing her approach as militarized and her rule as iron-fisted. Former allies even began to turn against her, with one ex-assistant openly saying that Henyard was more focused on building her image than working for Dolton. With each passing month, it seemed Henyard was drifting further from her initial promises of leadership and deeper into a style of governance that looked more like intimidation.
The sheriff's been out here a few times to serve them. For a household that makes, over $350,000 a year.
Even her landlord couldn't escape the whirlwind of controversies. Henyard and her boyfriend, who reportedly pulls in 6 figures from a job funded by Thornton Township, were sued for eviction after they stopped paying rent on their home in Dolton. Her landlord, who had known Henyard for years and initially trusted her to rent the home, spoke out about how Henyard allegedly changed the locks to keep her out and stopped answering messages. With rent payments piling up and an eviction lawsuit in the works, it was just one more nail in the coffin for Henyard's image. The lawsuit exposed another layer of her financial life and raised questions about her priorities, as Dolton residents watched in disbelief as their mayor seemed unable to manage her own finances.
Just here because I'm at wit's end and I fear that I'm going to go into foreclosure soon if I can't get this matter handled.
And if that wasn't enough, the FBI started sniffing around. Reports surfaced that federal agents had issued subpoenas and were investigating Henyard's financial dealings, her alleged misuse of public funds, and even her charity's finances. The village was millions in debt, with vendors left unpaid, basic maintenance needs going unmet, and even police cars reportedly facing repossession. Despite this, Henyard's luxurious lifestyle continued. When she reportedly found out that federal agents were circling, she wasted no time allegedly plotting an exit strategy. Sources say she leveraged her connections within the police department to get inside information about the FBI investigation, giving her a head start in planning her escape. Rumors spread that she'd left under the cover of a business trip, though no one knew where she was headed.
Dolton Township tonight as another board meeting got canceled because of a lack of a quorum.
And that came after a disagreement about where to hold the meeting as trustees expressed concerns for their safety.
Meanwhile, Dolton was left to pick up the pieces. Trustees and residents were outraged, with community members calling her leadership a betrayal and trustees publicly stating their desire for accountability. Even as the village board moved to freeze credit card spending, restrict budget allowances, and lay off employees to stabilize Dolton's finances, residents felt it was too little, too late. People were seen protesting outside of City Hall, demanding answers and an end to the chaos. Former allies of Henyard admitted feeling blindsided, with some calling for her to be made an example of. For many Dolton residents, the hope was that Henyard's departure marked the beginning of a new era, one focused on transparency and true public service. As the investigation moves forward, Dolton residents are beginning to look toward the future. There's talk of new candidates and a strong push from within the community to elect leaders who will prioritize the needs of Dolton citizens over personal gain. Jason House, one of the village trustees, has announced his intention to run for mayor alongside a slate of candidates known as Clean House, a team with the mission to bring honesty and clarity back to Dolton's government. They've positioned themselves as the opposite of Henyard's administration, promising to steer Dolton back on course and put an end to what they call the spectacle of Henyard's rule. But the biggest question still remains, will Henyard face the consequences of her actions? With an active FBI investigation, a pending eviction, and more lawsuits likely on the horizon, she has a lot to answer for. And as Dolton's residents brace for what's next, the story isn't over yet. Will the town's efforts to bring her to justice succeed, or is Henyard too far removed to face accountability? Let us know what you think in the comments.